So good
Hey
morning,
guys.
to you, Carlo. It's the morning for you in Australia, isn't it?
Yes, and good evening to you guys.
Excellent. Ralph, we'll let you take over.
Okay. Hello, Carlo. Greetings and congratulations on your nuptials.
Thank you very much. Pleasure to meet you.
Yes, and please thank your wife for allowing you to sneak off already while you're on your honeymoon to do business.
She gets it. She gets it. She met me like this, so.
I understand. She knew what she was marrying into, correct?
Yeah, it's not easy being married to motorsport.
No, that is very true. And that is exactly what happens with you because MotoGP is a family business for you. Your father deeply involved with the business.
So Carmelo, our CEO, and my father, he started the motorsport division at Dorna in '91. That's coincidentally the same year that I was born, and we've been running. Well, it was called the 500 or how the FIM World GP, and then turned into MotoGP in 2001. It's 2002. Sorry, yes. So it's been 30 years now that Dorna has been running the business, and I've been in this role for 4 years now.
And how are you acclimatizing yourself to the role now that you're in charge of within Dorna?
Gradually been, gaining experience in the different areas of Dorna. As you can imagine, I went to a lot of races when I was a young kid growing up, and I always had tremendous love for the sport and respect for the riders and the teams. And then I've been doing more or less everything, setting up the advertisement board, physical work. I was in timekeeping. I've been in the technical engineering department also. And now for the past 7 or 8 years, I've been more focused on the business itself, especially in terms of the sport organization, the rules, the safety on track, and the circuits, the agreements with the circuits and the countries that hold the races. So really, really lucky and blessed to be in this role because it's really the most sport orientated part of the business. And as a fan of the sport that I am, I'm really thankful for the opportunity.
MotoGP racing is some of the most exciting racing you'll find anywhere on the planet. Obviously, in the two-wheeled world, it would be comparable to what Formula One is in the four-wheeled world. So it's kind of hard not to talk about comparisons between the two. We've seen massive growth here recently with Formula One in the United States. How do you feel MotoGP's position is within the United States these days?
Yeah, as you say that, first things, hats off to the F1 and the team at FOM for what they've done in these past years, and especially in relation to this market, which is the most important market on the planet for sure, especially for the four-wheel industry. And their growth there, I think personally really related to Drive to Survive and how that's impacting on the main on the general public and on the mainstream media. They've done a tremendous effort to be where they are and investment, and it's definitely paid off for them. So hats off to the F1. I think we have a shared promoter with Bobby Epstein at COTA in Austin for the past years, and we know that the F1 struggled for a bit at their beginning in COTA when it came back to the States after having left in Indy for quite some time. So it's the success is fairly recent, I would say, but you can see now with the new agreement, not only with the 3 circuits and the 3 GPs that they're going to hold next, but also with a huge increase on the media side. It's definitely a great accomplishment. For us, it's been quite of a challenge. I'd say that even I'd give it even more value for the F1 because they've been able to make this jump increase without any American stars. And I'd say that us, even when we were completely dominant by riders from the US, in their late 80s and early 90s, even then, MotoGP wasn't a mainstream sport in the States. And, it's a really difficult market to break into in the States because, especially because of the time difference. So even the biggest sport for us in Europe is football, soccer, and even they struggled a lot to impact in the American market, and the one has. So, it's really, there's not a clear, I'd say there's not a path to making that success. Clearly, American riders would help. Having more events in the States would help. But on the other side, I would specify that MotoGP has had an incredible increase in Asia and Southeast Asia specifically over the past 5 years, where we're tier one in many countries. And our race in Indonesia this year for the first time has showed that. So it's a bit of a compromise because if you focus on Asia, you're going to be in a really bad time zone for the States, and if you focus on the States, you're going to be a very bad time zone for Asia. So it's hard to find the balance there.
Yeah, you touched on a handful of things that I wanted to ask you about. Let's start with Drive to Survive. It has been an incredible success story for Formula One here in the States. MotoGP tried their own version of a Drive to Survive. And to be honest with you, every sanctioning body president I talk to here in the US or anywhere else for that matter, all say, I need my own version of a Drive to Survive. You guys actually tried it and only lasted one season. Did you find, what was the problem with it? Why have you not carried it out?
I think, we wanted to put a pause to it because both it was a project that we worked with Amazon Prime, but especially with Amazon Prime in Spain and Italy. And I think those are two markets that we don't need to specifically focus on right now at the moment because we're big and successful in both. And I think that the format itself was probably not what either of the partners wanted. For example, it wasn't all in English, which for us was an important part of it, especially focusing on markets like the US and the UK. Then just I think Drive to Survive built a totally different fan, a totally different story to what normal racing is. Creating personalities out of the riders, out of the team managers, and not focusing on the racing. I think that even a lot of these fans are quite disappointed when they watch the racing. They expect something way more exciting, let's say, than what it is. But I think our docu-series was too sport orientated, and that's why I wanted to refresh. And we're opening the door to a couple of different possibilities for the future. But it's not our, let's say, it's not our definitely our area of knowledge, no. And building these documentaries, you could have this people that build Drive to Survive with a different sport, and it could be a huge success, or it could not be. And it's difficult to work it out.
Thankful to Valentino Rossi, the incredible Valentino Rossi. Italy has now won 21 world championships. The US sits second with 15, and it was 7 different riders that got those 15 championships over the years, going all the way through to the late, great Nicky Hayden. Spain sits there in third with 11, based out of 4 riders. There was a time when the US dominated MotoGP, as you mentioned, in the 80s and into the 90s, through the mid-90s when Nicky won his in 96. What do you think it's going to take to get American riders back into the pipeline of MotoGP? I know you have an alliance with Moto America. Is that developing the way you want it to?
I think these things take, a huge amount of time to settle and for you to really get the result of the investment know that you've made. I think Dorna, uh, unlike any other sporting promoter, private sporting promoter in the world, invests hugely into talent programs. Um, and we do that to grow the grassroots of the sport, and especially to have riders from all the continents. So we've established talent cups throughout all the continents in Asia, South America, North America, specific ones to the UK, etc. And it just takes time. I think that the way it is now, or the way it has been in the past, the riders in the States have probably gone into a mistaken route if they wanted to go into MotoGP, probably a correct route if they wanted to go into Superbike, but an incorrect route in prototype bikes, which have a different, type of riding style. So I think that now that's pretty much settled. I think that they have the programs that they need to have until they're 14, 15, or 16 in the States. And then they probably have to move to Spain, and to Europe to compete in the Junior World Championship. And that takes investment and and sacrifice from the family and the personal side, which is not easy. So of course it's challenging if you're American, but I think the situation is going to get better. I think we have, Joe Roberts from the States and a couple of other kids showing up that look like they're good. So fingers crossed.
Yeah, Cameron Bobier over there not too long ago as well, taking a crack at it. It used to be, like, for example, when Kenny Roberts first came from America and went over, you came up through flat track racing to learn how to push the front wheel, and that transitioned well into how they rode the 500 Grand Prix bikes back in that era. And Kenny and Freddie Spencer and Eddie Lawson, Wayne Rady, they all had a little bit of an edge with that because they had developed that skill set through flat track racing. Of course, there's many great flat track racers now around the world. Mark Marquez is outstanding at it. Valentino has his own facility. He just hosted a whole bunch of guys over there this past weekend. So there's great flat track racers all around the world now. One of the best here in the US is a young man by the name of Dallas Daniels, who I personally believe is the most talented young American right now in all of motorcycle racing. Is he on your radar?
I know about him because he's he's had interactions with our riders, and I've heard about him on the media and stuff. I don't know anything about his level on asphalt, on circuits, but what you're saying makes sense. But now I think that the level is so high across all disciplines that it's very specific to one, and the teams are very clearly, so the Moto2 are very clearly looking at riders in Moto3. The teams in Moto3 are very clearly looking at riders in the Junior World Championship. That's where they're looking to fish at. So that's the funnel very, very narrow.
Yeah, well, I think you're going to hear about this young man pretty soon, and I think it's a bright future for America to get back to the forefront there within MotoGP. I was very fortunate to be at the first 500 Grand Prix race at what was then known as just Laguna Seca back in the 80s, and was able to call MotoGP when it came through, and WeatherTech Raceway Laguna Seca at Indianapolis and at COTA with Fox Sports and NBC. We're down to just one race now. We did have 3 fantastic GPs here in the US in 1 year, now just the one at COTA. How long is it going to take before we get back to maybe 2, possibly 3 again?
Well, as I was saying at the start of the call, the first thing is that now, MotoGP bikes are really another level of machinery. They're doing higher top speeds than F1, and the bikes are really, if you can see them on track, those guys are definitely have a pair, and it's really, really amazing to see the bikes. So that has entailed a big increase in safety and circuit standards for for the circuits themselves. And I think that right now in the US, there's maybe only Austin is the only circuit that could host a MotoGP event is now. So that would be the number one boundary, I think. The other one is, as I was saying, the interest from the States. It has to be organic. You can't start, organizing or increasing the number of events in the States if they're not all going to be successful. That's very important to us. We have a huge demand of countries wanting to join the calendar, and only room for 22 because that's our agreement with the teams and the riders and the federation, that we won't exceed 22 in the current period, which lasts until 2026. And we have huge demand from a big number of countries and important markets in both Southeast Asia and South America. But you really have to balance that out. But we would love to have this later.
Is it the type of situation where it would take maybe an outside partner like a Red Bull or a Monster, somebody like that, to partner up with the track like Red Bull did back in the day when you had 3 events here, where they kind of help come in and fund some of the upgrades to some of the facilities to get them to the standards that you need?
I know the Red Bull and are both very interested in those markets, especially all of our events in the era in the States have all been titled by Red Bull. Even 3 events in the States, they were all title sponsors were all Red Bull. It's an important market for them to challenge with Monster. But I think the important thing for the events in the States would be that they're successful promoter, or whether that's with help from a sponsorship or help by the local state, which a lot of events are, because they bring a huge economical impact to the region. So it would have to be something like that, yeah.
I have to ask, just because it's near and dear to my heart, and we've had some folks chime in about it. Are you going to break my heart and tell me that MotoGP has outgrown Laguna Seca as far as the performance?
Yeah, yeah. It breaks our heart too, because it was a fantastic event there. But with it's different when a circuit stays in the calendar. But going back to with those runoff areas right now, I think would be difficult for us. I think it's a shame, because it's an amazing place with an amazing atmosphere, and California is an important market by itself as a state. But I don't think we'd be able to go to the track with the current runoff areas.
Oh,
It'd be hard to convince the riders.
devastating news. Just devastated. I understand, but devastating at the same time. One thing I do want to talk to you about, you mentioned the young riders and the junior programs that you have. How young is too young these days for a youngster to get onto a bike, a powerful machine, and begin the progress?
I guess it depends what parent you're talking to, and I guess it depends on the country where you are. Us as Dorna, we've made in the recent years, we've made a push for riders under 14 not to race on the big tracks, to only race with a pit bike, the mini bikes on karting tracks, because the risk is much less there with the speed and the weight of the bikes. And that's why we've started a great program together with FIM, which is called the Mini GP World Championship, where kids are able to race in their countries for with a standard bike, which is the same for all countries, with the same tires, with the same type of tracks everywhere. And Dorna brings the top 2 kids from each country for a final at the year-end event in MotoGP in Valencia, and that works very well. And I think that's more or less the road that we should follow for kids under 14 not to be on the big tracks, because that's what's happening in Spain and Italy. The kids have an advantage comparing to other countries where it's not to, or where they don't do it. So I think trying to harmonize this between all of the countries is important for us, but especially because of the safety of the riders I think, there's sufficient time to get on the bikes later on.
Our old friend Chaley Siegenthal chimed in here on our chat session and wanted to know about the aerodynamics that have been allowed into MotoGP and the active suspensions that are going on as well. Is it getting out of control? Are you worried about it, or are you okay with the direction that the manufacturers are taking it for now?
Us as Dorna, as part of the legislative body, together with the FIM, which makes the rules. One is what Dorna would like out of the sport right now, but the other thing, getting equity and consistency in the rule book. So let's say that the rules allowed for the things on the fairings, they say all the manufacturers agreed to those rules. Then that's what made us, the room for that was available, and one manufacturer or various manufacturers took advantage of it first, and then the others followed. And I think that's more or less the spirit of where one manufacturer makes a breakthrough and the rest of them follow after that. I think right now it's fairly controlled. They only have one upgrade season, so that gives consistency, and I think controls a bit how much money they can spend. And we're working already with the manufacturer for the next era of machinery, which will be 2027. We're already working with them to see how we can reduce the effect of aerodynamics. But it's part of the game. I think in the past, manufacturers have made breakthroughs in other areas, like when they brought in the seamless gearbox, or the other technical advances, and the other ones had to follow through. Right now, the aerodynamics is a hot topic because so some of the riders are complaining, others the manufacturers are pushing hard to leave the rules as they are. I think it's a balance as everything.
Understood. Yeah, it's a challenge to find the right balance. That's for sure. Got another question that came in here. David Fox would like to know, what's the thinking behind the introduction of sprint races?
Well, yeah, I'm happy to talk topic because it's probably been the biggest change in sporting format that we've had ever in the championship. I think it was something that was probably unthinkable some years ago, but as us, the fans of MotoGP, I think it's something that everybody that is being introduced, and we're all eager to watch. I think we had a challenge at many circuits that were selling out on Sundays, and the promoters, the circuits were asking for more on Saturdays. I think that also this new format is targeted at making the being able to interact more with the fans both at home and circuit. So that's why we have different areas and different windows for that to happen on Sunday morning and Saturday at noon. So everything around the new format is really targeted at these new audiences, the new fan which likes a shorter race with more action packed into 20 minutes, which I think all of us is going to be quite exciting. And Saturday is going to definitely be super interesting now and very demanding for the riders as well, with qualifying in the morning and sprint race in the noon. We're really looking forward to it. I think time will tell if exactly the details of the timing and the format and all that are correct, or to modify something in the next years, which we don't discard for sure. But I think the introduction of races itself, which is the main and the biggest change that we have, we're certain to be a success.
As you look forward to 23, what other things are coming through the pipeline, 23, 24? You already talked about new rules and regulations for the bikes coming in 27. What else will we see in the next couple of years that you can tell us?
So, yeah, that's the challenge for sure. No, I think that changes to the calendar and promoters It's something that we're going to be active in. Till now, till 22, we had 4 races in Spain and 1 in Portugal. I think that's something that we're not going to be able to continue with, given the interest that we have from the new countries. So I think that opening up to new markets, and I think that the biggest and the most critical thing for us to do in MotoGP is how to engage with a new generation of fans and provide the content that they want, and that we are producing the content that they want, but it's how to be able to deliver this content to it. I think everybody agrees that the action on track in MotoGP probably the best that there is in motorsport around the world, and we need to be able to transmit this and engage with the fans. So that's our target.
One thing that I think motorcycle racing has done very well lately is improve when it comes to safety, whether it's air fencing or the air system within the suits themselves. I think that's been a spectacular development and just a tremendous direction to go forward. Where is the safety headed next?
I think, just to touch on the first part of your question, I think it's something that we're, it's good to say, and we're incredibly proud of. It's been the biggest area of focus from Dorna for the first, the first years when we took over the management of championship, and we're happy to say that both the safety on track, but not only, also the safety of the riders, on the streets, on the roads, has increased due to MotoGP, and that a lot of the products that have been developed in MotoGP are now available on the road. So the leathers, the helmets, all of that is critical to us. I think there's a new area of focus which is trying to avoid riders colliding with other riders after an impact or after a crash, which have unfortunately been the last causes of fatalities that we've had on our different championships. It's definitely an area which is hard to believe that we could actually have an impact on, because getting run over by another bike is basically impossible to save. But already the manufacturers of leathers, of helmets, have started working on it. We have another area of safety with the new helmet standard coming in. I think it's 2 years from now by FIM, and that will be developed further for communication with the riders through things like head-up display. All of these things which will definitely have an impact also on road safety going further. So safety is definitely one of our main concerns, and something that we never stop to work on.
Well, Carlos, our time is up. Thank you very, very much for taking the time on your honeymoon to share some light with us on what the future is with MotoGP, even though you crushed my heart by telling me you're not coming back to Laguna Seca in the very near future. But I'm going to keep my fingers crossed, and one of these days we'll get you back there. Please thank Miss Espeleta for allowing you to come join us, and enjoy your honeymoon. And we hope to see you at Circuit of the Americas. I believe it's April of 2023. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay.
16.
We
Thank
look forward
you.
to seeing you there.
It's been a pleasure.
Registering on EPARTRADE is easy. To start, click on the Join for Free button on the homepage. First, search your company to see if it's already in our database. If you see your company on the list, click on it to select it. Then, choose Claim Company if you are one of the decision makers, an owner, marketing person, or main company contact. Or choose Join Company if you are an employee, and press Continue. If you couldn't find your company in our database, select Register a New Company. On the following page, fill out your name, email, phone number, job title, and choose a secure password. If you chose Register a New Company, you'll need to choose your business type. Select Supplier if you're looking to display products or services and connect with buyers. Choose Racing Business if you're looking to source new parts and connect with suppliers. Choose Race Team if you own or are a member of a professional race team. Then, enter your company name. Please provide a website, Facebook page, or LinkedIn if you have one, and choose to either claim or join the company. You can view and agree to our terms of use here. If you'd like to receive our weekly newsletter, choose Accept. Finally, click Register Now and your registration will be submitted for approval. An email will be sent to your inbox. Please confirm your email address and you will be approved shortly. Welcome to EPARTRADE.